So let's go ahead and get started. Um, Minutes. Do we have any corrections to the minutes?
Lisa, I hope the summary was helpful. I know that it sounded like you compiled the comments from your other committees and then presented them to CLC, which I think would have been very helpful for them. So I hope that was helpful to you. There you go, Ted.
All right, I'm not hearing any corrections to the minutes, so they stand as read. So let's move on to our first agenda item. The Construction Engineering Services Agreement with Strand Associates for the Cayuga Connector.
Yes, so this is before you because we have a budget to proceed with the path project, and we have a bid that was awarded by the council on Tuesday. And now we have from Strand this proposal to do construction engineering services. It's very standard practice that we do this for other projects too, where oftentimes Strand or whoever we're working with does the design, and then we ask them for an amendment to their professional services agreement. I did have our city engineer review this. He thought it was reasonable. So this is before you tonight to recommend to the council for approval.
Do we have any concerns about it? You can take a few minutes.
Strand is also being hired to oversee the construction of the Allen Century traffic signal project, which includes the extension of the path, the West Mendota path. So they'll be spending some time in the city this summer.
All right, I'm not hearing any concerns, so I'll go ahead and move that we recommend to the Finance and Personnel Committee and Common Council the approval of this contract amendment. Do I hear a second?
Second.
That's Steve.
Yep.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it. All right, next item. Policy development on street accessible parking.
Yes, so this is a referral from the Public Works Committee. I'll just go scroll down to the materials here. So the city engineer asked that I put this on your agenda for your review and comment and recommendations. As you, I think, are aware, or if not, you've probably seen, we've added several spaces in downtown Middleton. I think it's gone very well. I did see one person the other day that was parked in one that I didn't see a noticeable sticker. It's not really legally enforceable, but I think most people are honoring it. And I think it's been a welcome addition to our downtown. So now this is a proposal to establish a policy moving forward for where we locate on-street accessible parking spaces. by a group today. I don't know if you want to see that. I think we can just stick with this.
I have a question about funding. So Mark, on page 11 of the packet, it's got the priorities and it says priority 1 was done in 2024. What's coming in 2025? Do we know?
Um, that's a very valid question. I do not know. So I mean, these were all done as is indicated. So the question is this all, what part of this is being funded, or what is Public Works planning to do? Is that your,
Mm-hmm.
I do not know that answer. If you'd like, I can, chances are Sean is still at the office. I can give him a quick call if you'd like.
No, that's not necessary. I'm just curious to know, what the like are the priority 2 items themselves in a order of priority or just randomly on there? They're not alphabetical.
I hadn't even
Not
noticed that.
right.
They're almost alphabetical except for Hubbard. Oh, actually, L, no, E is before D too. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I'm not sure. Um,
So Mark, you need a motion from us to approve this, send it back to Public Works.
Yeah, they were interested in having your input on this policy if you felt it was on the right track. I think it was just what's the implementation? There's a budget request. So maybe the way I read the last sentence of the staff comments here, which I drew from Sean's comments to his committee. I take that to mean maybe that nothing's funded for this year, but you know the budget probably backwards and forwards better than I do. So I don't remember if there was a line item for this or not. Lisa, so
I don't recall.
okay.
That it might be part of a bigger budget item, generic budget item for Public Works.
Yeah. I mean, if you think it's a reasonable policy, then I think the appropriate action would be to simply have a motion endorsing saying that you don't have any suggestions for changes, you support it as written. I mean, I guess that would be in order. Oops, sorry, I went past the, here we are.
I don't have any problems with it. It isn't clear to me whether the Public Works Committee has signed off on this and just wants our feedback, or whether they're waiting to get our feedback before they
I can't
approve it.
remember if you put the minutes. Oh, yeah, I did put minutes in here. No, that's Plan Commission. Sorry, that's something else.
Mhm.
Um, I believe that they were comfortable with it as in the draft form, but wanted to get feedback from this body. That's my understanding. So for some reason, I thought I did have the minutes in here, but maybe I decided it wasn't necessary. Or what I did is I took the minutes and put them in the staff comments. If you'd like, I can pull them up quickly, but I think it was simply they just wanted your feedback before it goes back to them to endorse.
The technical specifications look fine to me. I have no real opinions about the priority of spaces. Brad?
As it looks like they're not planning to prioritize the curb adjustment style for the stalls on the street. Leaving it up to the committee to decide when it's appropriate. But it doesn't look like there's more guidance for that. Does that exist somewhere and I just missed it?
You're talking about
It was the priority 4. Sorry, where did I see it?
right here.
No. Sorry, I'll bring it up. I had it on the other thing.
Oh, priority 4 meaning I
Yeah,
see.
sorry, on page 10.
Got it. I don't see priority 4 numbered
Oh,
though.
sorry, it was just the
Oh, here it is. Got it. Got
the
it.
implementation.
Yeah, sorry.
Is
Got it.
that it? Who is deciding when we need to cut curb for stalls, and how is that decided?
Well, that's so if there's a decision that a certain location should have an accessible parking space, then there are standards for how that is designed. So I guess the decision would be if this is a location, like for example, in front of, let's say the angled parking on Hubbard Avenue by Stonehorse Green.
Yep.
If there were a desire to have one, or well, it probably would involve converting 2 of them to one accessible space, you then are required by PROAG to have certain proximity to a ramp. So
Okay.
I guess the decision would be this is where we should have one. What we did when we cited the ones we already did, and what I did actually is went around and I tried to, I went for the path of least resistance. I kind of, the minimal, implement spaces in logical locations, that were close to a accessible ramp, well, the existing ramp for a crosswalk, for example. So I think that's where we cited them all, was proximate to that, so that we wouldn't have to construct anything new.
Okay. But none of those involved like cutting the curb out to make space and losing sidewalk space.
Correct. And so those are not considered legal parking spaces. Legal meaning they're not considered fully ADA compliant spaces, I think, in some cases. And so in order to do that, there are certain standards, which I think is what this gets into. That gets pretty significant expense for modifying the sidewalk and specifically going into the terrace area. So I've seen from my visits around, travels, I've seen a lot of downtowns in particular that have done what we have done, which is they just mark a few spaces, and call that I've never seen, I can't think of an example right now anyway of where there's been a design that can be called fully ADA compliant. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I think that's what the intent is here, to provide some guidance for how these are cited and factor in these various design elements that need to be considered to implement a stall.
Oh, okay. I'm just it seems like the curb cutting stall is the most expensive and the
Right.
most complicated by a mile, and it
Yeah.
is taking up sidewalk space. I just wasn't sure how often those were going to be used, because it doesn't say anywhere here that it seems like it's going to be very often. So
I think speaking from a personal standpoint, I think it makes more sense to be able to have several of these spaces in scattered around and
yeah,
well distributed, instead of investing in just one space.
okay,
uh, there are off-street parking spaces that are fully designed to meet ADA standards. Where we don't have off-street parking, obviously, where there's a gap in off-street parking, if you will, then we rely on on-street parking. And so the question is, are the fully designed spaces too far from destinations that people want to go to? So I don't know how else to answer the question other than,
okay.
there's certain limits to design that we can't avoid.
Okay, just we're approving a sort of policy.
Right.
So I was just curious before I give credence to that, how often that we want to end up cutting curb before looking for other more um less invasive options. With the understanding that I know these are very important and needed. So
Lisa.
Thanks. Going back to page 11, I'm looking at the list under priority 2. Assuming these would be the next ones to be done, I would not have the Mendota Ave and Middleton Beach Road stalls on there, just because if development takes place over there, the plans, I mean, Mark, you're on, you used to have the plan commission. We've talked about getting rid of those parking spaces.
Yeah.
So I guess I would move those to the end of the list and maybe not consider doing anything there until we know what's going to happen in the future.
So Mendota, Allen, so the second and the third from the bottom.
Yep.
I agree with that. Makes sense.
Todd.
Yeah, I agree with this in general, but just a suggestion to Public Works, maybe they could provide some reasoning and rationale for the priorities. So why are priority ones ranked priority 1? Why are priority 2s ranked priority 2, 3, 4, and so forth, just to give people more of an inclination of why, these are considered over others. And then also to kind of piggyback off of what Alder Anairo said, maybe some sort of a timeline. What's next? What are we looking at in the future? It appears that priority 2 will be pursued next, but as you said, there are some considerations that need to be taken into account there with some other potential developments. So.
Do we have any other recommendations? All right, do we have a motion to what is it? To approve the revised draft policy? Well, how are we including our recommendations here, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could, I don't know if the word is endorse or not, but endorse the policy as written, as drafted. And I'll write in the minutes of some of the discussion about postponing, or at least, making sure that we don't do locations that development might pay for them, the 2 Mendota Avenue locations, Middleton Beach Road locations. So I don't think that needs to be part of any motion, but I think the question is just, are you comfortable with this approach with the policy that has been drafted? And
Right.
if you are, then I think simply endorsing it, if there's not any wording changes or if you can't think of any other things to add or remove from the policy, then just simply endorse the policy as drafted. My suggestion.
All right, well, I guess I'll move to have the Ped Bike and Transit Committee endorse the policy as drafted with the noting the suggested change in priority 2.
Do
I'll
I hear a
second that. I'll second
Okay.
that.
I didn't hear who that was.
This
It
is
was Brad.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, the ayes carry it. Next item. Committee membership.
So it's referred here from our License and Ordinance Committee. Public Works Committee has also been discussing this. And they don't have the Public Works Committee doesn't have an opinion on the number of people on this committee. But they do oppose the ordinance to change the membership of the Public Works Committee. They would like to see, so they didn't like the idea of them sending, I'm sorry, of Ped Bike Transit sending a liaison to the Public Works Committee. They, for various reasons, decided that was problematic, partially timing, partially, mainly timing, and I think they were concerned about having a gap in their membership. They also, to that end, then I suggested the idea of, well, what if we modify the ordinance so that since all of you are appointed by the mayor and then confirmed by the council, what if the mayor, what if we change the ordinance so that the mayor has guidance to whom she appoints, one person is appointed to both committees concurrently, and that seemed like one option that could be considered. And then Public Works Committee also had some suggested changes to the wording for instead of expertise, they suggested experience, which is, I think, how it's currently drafted. I mean, the current ordinance. I can't remember what I put in here now.
All the way at the bottom, you have the draft ordinance.
So at the very end, oh, there it is. Sorry. Yep. Why is the work plan earlier?
Lisa?
Thanks. I could go with the idea of having the mayor appoint one member to both Ped Bike and Transit and Public Works. I could also go with the idea of eliminating the liaison between the two committees. I've been on both Ped Bike and Transit and Public Works, and I would say I haven't actually noticed much of a benefit to having that liaison. I think it's much better to do the joint meeting occasionally like we did with Public Works. I think that's a much better interaction of the two committees where we can actually all discuss instead of just putting it all on one member to be going back and forth. And it will reduce the burden on members to either have 2 more meetings to attend if they come from this committee or 1 more meeting to attend if they come from Public Works.
Kirsten?
Yeah, I like the idea that what Lisa said, having maybe 1 or 2, well, 2 a year joint meetings, I think would be fantastic. I really felt that that was beneficial.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon. I've been thinking the same thing for a while. We would get more, especially we would get more out of joint meetings, and especially a joint meeting where we kind of each establish what we're looking for rather than just rather than only a meeting where we talk about a specific project, we need to kind of each establish what our real goals are here.
Ted, Ted and Lisa, do you think that 2 a year would be appropriate?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think it would be good to ask for that. That's not something we need to put in the ordinance. Because then we'll have much more flexibility
Mhm.
to schedule meetings as we need them. So then the change to recommend would be to eliminate paragraph B that is showing and to reject the changes showing in C. So that Public Works will be 2 alderpersons and 5 citizen members. And then our membership changes to the 9 either way.
Oh, here it is. Wait,
Yeah, I've got to
Yep,
look at
yep.
what we do to,
yep, there it is. So we would reject the change in D. Wait,
No, we wouldn't.
no, not all the changes. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, the word experience, there's a preference from the Public Works Committee to keep the word experience. Yeah, and the word handicap obviously is no longer in use. So experience in pedestrian and bicycle issues as they relate to persons with disabilities is how that would read. You said something about number 9, Lisa. I don't understand where that, maybe I heard you wrong. I don't know where I heard that.
She said our committee would
Oh,
change to
9,
9
meaning,
people either
okay,
way.
got it. 9 members, got it. Sorry.
yeah, so just looking at what's on the screen now, A is fine, B needs
Yep.
to be crossed out, and C, reject those changes. Keep it at the 5, so I guess take that one out too.
Yeah. Here's the 9. Okay, got it. Sorry, I didn't.
So actually, no change to Public Works.
Right, for some reason,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And then the second part is section 231,
Right.
1D. Well, unless I'm looking at the wrong part, 231,
No,
1D
right.
says citizen members.
Because we're going from 10 committee members down to 9. So that's,
Oh, okay, because we're
oh,
getting
wait,
rid of,
One of those members was the liaison from Public Works.
so we're getting rid of C.
this
I
seems
think
backwards
that's
to
it,
me now.
yeah.
Why would we go from 4 to 5 if we're decreasing the number of members? That's, wait a minute.
B and C are
There-
hereby
we-
repealed.
If we scroll down to the term of appointment, we are also removing the Plan Commission liaison.
Yeah, that is.
Oh,
going-
and that's why we're increasing. Got it. Yep.
Right. So we're removing 2 liaisons and we're replacing them with a single citizen member.
So it's 1, 2,
Got it. Yep, you're right. Thank you.
3, 4. Okay, so D. They wanted to change, who suggested changing it to expertise instead of experience?
It was a public, no, well, I think, where did the term expertise come from as a suggestion? I don't know. It wasn't something I had suggested. I was the one who originally wrote the word experience, so that's how the ordinance has been written. So I
Yeah,
don't know who proposed it.
I would reject those changes.
But I think we need to rephrase this to say experience in pedestrian, bicycle, and transit issues as they relate. I mean, that part we would accept. We just would use the word for here. We would just say experience. So, okay. Okay.
All right. We've got our suggestions.
So I
So
think what I've heard-
basically, yeah, the only change is going down to 9 members and, renumbering, eliminating the 2 liaisons, and then changing the reference to, well, keeping experience, but using the phrasing that you've added at the end of
Right.
paragraph D.
experience. And, yep.
And then is there a way to institutionalize the joint meetings? How did you folks do it in the past? Was it?
They're not, they're joint meetings. I can't think of any ordinance for any of the committees we have that requires a joint meeting. The drawback to that approach, and I'm not saying it can't make it work, and I see the merit in it. Of course, the drawback is then one group or both committees then are meeting on a different day from which they're accustomed.
Right.
So, that's the only downside is if you're used to your Thursday evening, first Thursday of the month meeting, and then suddenly you're asked to come to a second Monday, that's the only downside. But that's with enough advanced planning, hopefully that can be not be an impediment.
Mm-hmm.
Can make the Public Works Committee come to one of ours too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I
Oh.
understand clearly what the discussion has been. So if you, I think a formal motion would be appropriate.
All right. So we are moving.
Striking this,
Right.
strike and leaving this or strike accepting this change, right? Or not? No,
We're taking out the whole
reject C. Yep, B and C.
Public Works Committee.
Yep. Yep. Striking that, the Public Works section, which is under number. Why is there no number 1 here? There's a 2 here, but the one's up
Yeah.
here. Okay. So rejecting the changes to number 1. I mean, this is just words. This is just formatting, so that's not a big deal.
Right.
So rejecting changes to number 1 and accepting line 2 that relates to the 9 members.
Mm-hmm.
And then the edits to line 5 would simply be you're accepting all this, but using the word experience here.
Right.
So both of these would say experience plus this language. Okay.
And we're recommending this to the License and Ordinance Committee.
Yes, I can't remember if that was supposed to go back. Public Works.
Honestly, I would send it to council.
Well, it was a referral from
Right.
L&O. So what I will do, I mean, since this is how I would handle this as staff, is when something's referred to the committee, I then report back to the staff person who staffs the committee that referred it. So I would, I would feel that's my obligation to do that. If the council wants to take this up separately, for example, if you didn't want to see the L&O committee, or if a council member could ask for something to be on the council agenda before it comes out of committee, I would leave that to the discretion of a council member.
I just feel like, we've got Alder College and I are on this committee. There are 2 alders on Public Works. Alder College and Alder Madden, who's on Public Works, are the bulk of L&O. I'm just trying to streamline it.
Yeah, no, I
and
understand.
not drown ourselves in formality, but I'll defer to Alder College because he is on L&O and can decide whether this needs to go. I feel like if it's gonna go back to L&O, it'll probably wind up going back to Public Works. And it almost seems at this point like we might as well just have the discussion at the council level and try to get it done sooner rather than later, but that's, I'll defer to Alder College.
I think you are right. Yeah, because likely, since Alder Madden is on license and ordinance and public works, likely what Alder Madden would want to do is have a discussion with public works about any of these changes before she agreed to moving forward on them. So either going to council or to public works, one of the two, because when this went to license and ordinance at the last meeting, that was the biggest concern, was that it seemed like there hadn't been collaboration and communication between Ped Bike and Transit and Public Works on this. So is it an option to send it to Public Works for their
Yeah, I mean,
thoughts?
what I think I will do is I like the idea too of streamlining as much as we can and our processes. So when I report back on the minutes to the staff for L&O, I would also share it with our Public Works Director too.
Okay.
And suggest that he put that back on Public Works Committee, because L&O only meets once a month, and their next meeting is this coming Tuesday. I don't know if the agenda's out yet, but we're probably missing that agenda at this point. I can share them. I can share the recommendation tonight with their staff and see if they can get it on their agenda for Tuesday. I can do that.
All right, so I have a motion for the aforementioned changes. And sending them to just council directly? Is that where we ended up?
I would make that motion.
All right. Do we have a second?
What is the motion specifically? To recommend to the council instead of to recommend to the L&O committee? Is that what you're making as a
Yeah,
motion?
that would be my recommendation. I mean, and if council, when we get to council, if members from Public Works feel strongly that this should have gone back to them, then they can make that request. I'm hoping it'll be less controversial than that.
So no reference in your motion. Your motion, Alder Nairo, is to recommend to the council the following changes to the ordinance as drafted. The ordinance amendment is drafted. Okay. And then I'll list them.
And I will take responsibility for if anybody gets bent out of shape because it didn't go back through one or two other channels. I'll just explain that we're trying to be expedient and streamline as our strategic plan for the city recommends.
Mark, you just look uncomfortable with that, right? I mean, this was referred to us from them originally, right? I'm looking at you and you seem
You're talking to me?
they're not going back to the original committee.
Well, I mean, what I will do is I will document this motion, and as was just made, there hasn't been a second yet, I don't think.
There has not been.
This is Kirsten. I'll second it.
Okay, so what I'll do is if this is adopted, I will report back to the staff person that referred it to me and say, here's the motion that was adopted by the committee, the Ped Bike Transit Committee. And I would share that with both L&O staff and Public Works staff, just so that they're aware of the intent. And then my guess is it would be on the council agenda for April 15th.
Yeah, and then I'll also include, Mark, that this committee feels that it's critical that we collaborate with Public Works, and we look forward to having joint meetings in the future, similar to what we have done in the past.
So I'll just add that as a comment in the minutes.
Okay. Comment.
Yeah. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Guys have it. Item number 4,
Oops.
preparations for Bike Week.
Oh, yeah, so I put the agenda together last week right before I left town, so I don't have any materials for this item at this point. I just had this on here since it's already April, I wanted to see if there's any more brainstorming. We had a good discussion about this last time. I think I have that document in the minutes here. Where was that? Or maybe
And yeah, it was in the minutes,
was it in the work plan?
work plan minutes.
Oh, yeah, here it was, yeah. Another idea I had was to have it seems maybe a little tangential, but I do think it's a great opportunity to ask Metro Transit to put one of their new BRT buses by the Stonehorse Green, to park it there so that people can see demonstrations for how you load your bicycle and be aware that that's an option. And then do that on a day that we have a community bike ride. So it's kind of a show and tell type of, look at the new buses and here's your chance to step on one, and this is how we mount your bikes. So that's the only other idea I've thought of since our last meeting.
Yeah. When are you thinking the community bike ride would be?
We've often aimed for Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that works, but a weeknight is, many people will have been at work during the day, and yes, we get daylight now. In June, we'll have daylight past 8 o'clock, but I don't know. I obviously open to your guidance.
Oh, I really like having it on the Sunday that opens Bike Week.
Yeah.
As a start, and it's an excellent excuse for ice cream. Kirsten?
Yeah, regarding the bus, can we have the free bus passes available for people to try it
I'll ask.
from round trip?
Yep.
Okay,
I'm sure that I don't think that'll be hard to arrange.
okay. And then just not that it's important for me to be there, but Sundays are gonna be pretty difficult for me to be on the group ride. But if most people can do it, I'm game.
Is there another format that you had in mind or that you were
Well,
thinking?
just a weekend or a weekday evening,
Okay. What time? If it was open?
whatever works for people. Yeah, whatever works for most people, but weekends are gonna be pretty nasty, having to go to Minneapolis a fair amount for mom care and stuff like that, so.
Mark, what time of day are the group rides usually held?
We've targeted mid-afternoon, like I think 3. I'd have to check. If you go too late into the evening, it starts getting dark, or people might be worried, discouraged from coming if they're like, I might be getting home when it's twilight. Also, frankly, in June, we have bugs more in the evening, so that might also be undesirable. But so Sunday at Tad, do you think it was 3? I can't remember when we've had it before, 3 or 4.
I think it's usually been about 4.
Yeah.
I would imagine it would be easier to get a bus on a weekend too, I would think.
Well, it might actually not be easier, because there's fewer drivers and the bus actually does not serve Middleton on the weekends. I don't know if it's easier or not, but at least what I think your point is that buses are parked, then there's more buses available. It's just the question is there a driver? Because during the week, the buses are in service. So I guess I see your point. So it sounds like you like the bus idea, so I will do that. There's also a bike rodeo that's being planned. I can't remember the day of that now.
It's June 7th. Yep, I just pulled it up. That's what I was gonna bring up.
Okay.
June, I think it's June 7th.
Okay.
Or wait.
It sounds right.
Yep,
Kirsten.
yep, and the training is May 31st.
Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
for it. Okay, so I'm just reading Jim Blodgett's email right now, so sorry about this. Here. Okay, so Jim Blodgett said the rodeo will be on June 7th, and there's an opportunity through the Wisconsin Bike Fed to train up to 16 people in teaching bike safety to help teach it. It is a free course. It takes 4 hours on Saturday, tentatively planned for May 31st.
And can
And
you,
so,
oh.
yeah, anybody's interested, we can direct them to Jim, because it's in collaboration with Jake Ungerer, the Madison Police Department Community Policing Officer.
Kirsten, can you share a little bit more about what a bike rodeo is?
Sure. I have not been to one in Madison, but I've been to one in another area. It's pretty much teaching safe riding skills and bike handling skills to both children and adults. There have been adult specific bike rodeos, but I think that this one is probably going to be more aimed to children, learning how to start, stop, look both ways, maneuver around obstacles, ride in a straight line, be able to look behind your left shoulder to see if anything's coming up before you turn, signaling turns. They go over all of that.
And the rodeo is separate from the training, but you go to the training to be in the rodeo?
So the training is to help lead the rodeo. So they're looking for up to 16 individuals to show up to the rodeo to help the kids and have extra eyes on them. It will be led by the Wisconsin Bike Fed, but and I think Jim Blodgett's actually taking the reins from this or on this, but they definitely need more help, you know, especially if there's a child that's having a hard time, that you can pull them aside and help with certain skills.
You may have just said this, but where will it be held, the rodeo?
That is, he did not say, but it will be in Middleton. I can find out. I can go ahead and email him.
Yeah, no rush. I'm just.
Yep. But we should definitely have that part of bike to work week.
For some reason, I thought it was at one of the schools, but
It usually is. It's
Yeah.
usually a parking lot of one of the schools.
Yeah. So if you have any other ideas for that week, the community ride with the BRT and the bus passes, bike rodeo. I learned yesterday actually that Fitchburg is there's a program called the League of American Bicyclists has a program to sign up bike-friendly cities, communities, and bike-friendly businesses. And Steve, you'd know his last name, Steve Arnold in Fitchburg, must be one of the biggest champions for bicycling as a mode of transportation in Dane County, because he has been working tirelessly. Former mayor of Fitchburg, and he's been working tirelessly to sign up to encourage businesses in Fitchburg to apply for this recognition as a bike-friendly business. And I learned yesterday that apparently Fitchburg is almost the top city in the country for most businesses that are part of that program, have that recognition. We in Middleton have maybe a handful, if that. In fact, it's less than, I bet it's just one or two. I haven't checked on that for a long time, but that could be another activity, is that we could be advertising the bicycle-friendly business program organized by the League of Municipalities, and try and spend that week maybe having different people go to different businesses to, with that information. So that's another idea.
And with that being said, we could get people to, businesses to donate or give discounts for it so that they can more easily be voted in as a bike-friendly business. So let's say, it works, but, the ice cream chocolate shop already, like last year, said just make sure that we contact them, that they would do a discount on cones. I think that having non-alcoholic options is really important, especially for families. I know that barriques would be a part of it. I know that Long Table would play a role in it. So if we use that and say, hey, we're also trying to vote for bike-friendly businesses, and you definitely be recognized if you want to play a role in Bike Week, it would definitely help get you voted on.
Is that something like the bike benefits that they have in Madison?
So bike benefits is actually throughout the whole state.
Okay.
Willie Street Co-op is a business that partakes in that. So, and so is Breeks.
What that is you have a sticker that's usually on a helmet, right? And that gets you walk into a participating business that has a little emblem at their door or at the cash register, wherever they have it, that advertises they participate, and then you get some sort of a discount or whatever they're wanting to advertise. It's up to the business to decide what to do with that.
And how does that differ then from like a bike-friendly business?
Oh, I see your point. The bike-friendly business designation is similar to the bicycle-friendly city or bicycle-friendly university. It's just a national program where you get listed. It's a fairly rigorous application process, whereas bicycle benefits doesn't entail something like that. It's just a decision to participate by the business. Go ahead, Kirsten. I'm sure you can speak to this better than I can.
Yeah, one of the main things that they're looking at is there ample parking for bicycles that's set up well near the entrance. A lot of the businesses will have a loaner pump there in case you have a flat and you need to change a flat. Things like that help with the vote.
One
Are you-
other idea, I was gonna move on. Did somebody wanna jump in?
No, can you see I think I only have my, the screen sharing. Do you see the bicycle friendly business on the screen or not? You just see the meeting packet, right?
We only see the packet.
Okay. I've learned recently that I can select what I want. Here we go. So, Brad, I was just going to refer you to, here's the website you can go to learn more about this bicycle friendly business. It's the League of American Bicyclists. So, and the next deadline, look at that. The next application deadline is June 5th, right during Bike Week. So anyway, it's just, like I said, it's a national program. Oh, I'm sorry, whoever was, Theo, was that you?
Yeah, that's me. For the community ride, one other idea that I was gonna toss out, and you all may have already done this in the past, but do you have kids decorate their bikes at all? I've been to some neighborhoods that do that, and the kids just love it. You provide some, tassels or, streamers or whatever. That could be another way to get kids engaged in the fun.
You could pick a theme too. Oh, there's an idea.
That could be something to coordinate with the arts committee on.
Well, I just got another idea as well. I like the arts committee idea too, but I could talk with the Good Neighbor Fest president to see if she wants to cross promote with this year's theme for Good Neighbor Festival, which is a pirate theme. So maybe that would be a way to, if she, I don't want to speak for her, obviously. I'm on the board there, but maybe that's a way to also promote, get a preview of Good Neighbor Fest and promote it at the start of the summer for something that's at the end of the summer.
Brad?
Could we do some sort of like scavenger hunt like they do with the rabbits that they set out in Pheasant Branch on sort of the bike trails in the city, where you can head out, ride to find them, and then once you find them all, there's one of the sponsors has something for you.
I like that idea. We'd want to have them have these features be along bike paths, I think, instead of places, places you can get to by path as opposed to streets.
Yeah, specifically
Yeah,
to
yeah.
use the paths in the city. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kirsten?
Also, I will be co-leading the mountain bike ride. So let's make sure that the ride, if we do it on a weeknight, isn't on a Tuesday, because that's the mountain bike ride, leaving from Capitol Brewery going to Middleton Bike Park and Blackhawk, and I will be co-leading it that week.
Okay. So that's the other thing. Whichever ideas we decide to run with, I want to make sure that they're registered with this, and I can take care of that to register them so that they're on the official website. These are great ideas. Would welcome some help. I think a couple of you offered to help before. I'd have to check my notes to see who that was. But for example, the scavenger hunt idea, I think that's a really good idea. I like that. But I wouldn't want to do that all by myself. I would appreciate volunteers helping me.
I would gladly help you with that.
All right.
That was
Thank you.
Brad, by the way. Sorry.
Yep, I saw you. Okay.
And I can try to get Chocolate Shop Barriques and Long Table on board with doing some sort of discount for Bike Week.
Thank you, Kirsten. And then why don't we make a goal of having all this together for the next meeting? So that we can, last year we didn't get everything. We had ideas, but it was a little late, a couple of them, and they weren't promoted as well as they could have been. So let's plan to finalize our ideas for the next meeting. So
Sounds good to me.
I'll follow up on the BRT with Metro. I got to get that in the pipeline here pretty soon, so I'll do that.
Yep.
And then Sunday at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. is the community ride. I didn't hear. I mean, Kirsten, you're the only one who suggested a weekday that I heard. So, okay. Do we want to try and encourage bicycle-friendly stickers at businesses to as we're preparing, for example, the scavenger hunt idea? I guess any of us who are reaching out to potential local sponsors to connect to Bike Week, I think we can mention the bicycle friendly program and give them information about that. And for that matter, I tell you what, here's what I'll do. I'll put together a little fact sheet that promotes Bike Week in the different ways that a business could be involved, and then some of you could take that with you to the businesses. I don't feel comfortable as city staff going up to businesses asking them to sponsor things. That wouldn't. I think I have to be careful with that. But community volunteers are I think a different story. Oh, we didn't mention the commuter bike station. So we've had the station at the Stonefield Old Middleton intersection now. In the past, we've done every day of the week. I think that's maybe more than necessary. It's a lot of work, and we have local sponsors that have, Meat and Hunt has reached out to me for several years now saying, hey, can we do that again? So they like to do that. So I'm happy to take volunteers for that from the local community, but I don't know that we need to make a commitment to have a station there every day, because what happens is it tends to be the same people that bike by every day. And it's, and frankly, maybe we should try a couple different locations too, to have other visibility. So I can work on that.
Mark, who did you
I want to
say?
make that up this year. What's that?
Who did you say volunteers there?
Middleton Sustainability Committee has volunteered before.
Okay.
A business, Mead and Hunt has made that one of their projects for their employees. A lot of businesses will have these initiatives to get their employees out into the community to do volunteer work essentially. And so that's I think how that Good Neighbor Fest has benefited from that as well. So we have sort of the usual suspects, if you will, that sponsor that, but I basically rely on them to step forward to take that initiative. I just don't know that that's something that we'll certainly promote it and do our part, because these commuter stations are scattered around the metro area, and I think they're really welcome. People will go out of their way to come to one. So they're a nice thing to have, but I like that we have a longer list of things to do this time to offer the city, or to offer the region, I mean. So this will be exciting. Okay. I don't see any need for any further, unless you have other ideas, you can write to me individually, let me know.
Yeah, that sounds good. All
Okay.
right, we've reached the end of our agenda. Future events, agenda items, email Mark. And we are adjourned.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep. Take care.
Good night.
Night.